The organization that our group chose to interview for this marketing pitch is the Knoxville Zoo. The Knoxville Zoo is a great family-friendly organization that allows all sorts of unique experiences for learning and observing nature's wildlife. So it's a really great, cool experience. The reason for us choosing to interview them is to see how we can make this experience as inclusive as possible and what steps the zoo is taking or can take to help make that possible. The frame of reference that we chose to use for this was the PEO. This is the Person, Environment, and Occupation model. This is such an appropriate model for this setting because this model tries to examine how performance is affected by the person, the environment, and the occupation. So a good example of this in a zoo and things that we're kind of looking into are, take for example, the person. We will make up an example of a client with autism. The environment would obviously be the zoo, and the occupation could be maybe going to see the lions for a show. This takes a look at what all factors within the person, what all factors within the environment, and what all factors within the occupation are going to impact the performance. So how much can this child actually enjoy the performance? Is there too much stimulus? Is there not enough stimulus? Is it not inclusive because there's bright flashing lights? Things like that.
So after interviewing with Miss Sheila, the safety officer and assistant director of animal collections, we decided as a team that the park could benefit from handicap accessible rest areas. The rest areas will allow anybody in a wheelchair or being pushed in a stroller to be able to pull off and have a break for a limited time. So throughout the park, there is many sloped sidewalks that lead to each individual animal encounter. And throughout these sidewalks, there is a steady or slight increase in elevation. Therefore, it might add resistance to the wheelchair user or wheelchair pusher, and they might need to take a break throughout the park. So after discussing with Sheila, we find that it is beneficial for us to add in these things every 40, 50 feet to allow rest areas for patients.
So to determine how we would plan and measure quality, we would do a survey to discuss where in the park would be the best places for these pads, for these rest points on inclines. We would also meet with the contractor to discuss ADA regulations and with our design team to discuss how much of it would be done by them and how much would be done by the contractor. And we would want to discuss weather and placement and humidity levels to make sure that the concrete is going down in a time that's best, as well as not necessarily overlapping with the most busy times of the park, because we don't want to lay this concrete on a Saturday when our influx is the highest. We also wanted to discuss the process and how long it would take for each one, and the process of finding funding. The Knoxville Zoo is a non-profit, meaning that their funds come from the tickets that they sell, or they come from outside sources like sponsorships. So determining where the money would be going or where it would be coming from to pay for this project would be a very important thing to discuss. That leads us to our proposed budget. So we decided that overall we would need a week for this project. And it probably wouldn't take a whole week, but we wanted to be flexible for weather constraints as well as if unforeseen things happen. So we took into account tool rental as well as tools that materials we would need to buy and the concrete that we would need to buy to lay it. If we bought our own materials, it would be less on the contractor and it might save the zoo some money. And although we're going for ADA regulations, we also want to do this in the cheapest way possible, because it is a nonprofit zoo and there isn't just money to go around. So they determined that the tool rental would be $800 as well as $840 for the materials, which included wood, metal, and concrete for the 5 pads. In total, the the concrete was about $140 because we needed 28 bags for the pads. On top of that, we needed a contractor, which would be about $850. We went with the contractor because we wouldn't have to pay the employees and of our design team to go out and do that, and it ended up being less than it would be to pay for the employees 40 hours a week for multiple employees. So overall for the tools, supplies, and contractor, it would be $2,490.
So the program that we designed is accessibility for all, and this shows advocacy in occupational therapy because we want to make it available for everyone to use. So occupational therapists in the community can become leaders by pointing out these areas that need to be changed, such as in the zoo for handicap accessibility for all, and follow the ADA guidelines. These are things that as an occupational therapist that we see and we like to make adjustments on. So that makes us advocates for people, leaders for people, and it helps encourage others to do the same.